record this too. All right, awesome. So this was great. So sorry if you tried to watch this video beforehand. It didn't work a bunch of times. My name is Matthew Brenner. I'm with Action Karate. And I'm really excited because this week and every month we do a nutrition challenge at our karate school for our kids and our adult students. And it's really cool because it's not something that just the kids do. It's really something that the whole family gets to be involved in. And this month is one of the easiest ones and one of the most fun ones, in my opinion, which is the smoothie challenge. So, of course, anytime we have a nutrition challenge, I turn to one of my confidants, which is Miss Angel over here, my trusted resource and one of the coolest parents. And we're going to talk about together some kind of traps people fall into when they think like they're making like a healthy smoothie and how to avoid those traps. And we're going to talk about some like healthy recipes. So Angel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me. And again, apologies to everybody. I think it was my computer that was not allowing us to get going earlier.
That's okay. That's okay. So, so I don't know if it's your computer or Facebook just trying to hack us down, but I have some ingredients here with me. Now, my plan was to make a smoothie while I was on here. Then I was thinking the noise would be insane. So instead, I just left out some of my favorite ingredients. So, I don't really make smoothies too often. And I'll explain why in a little bit, just like me personally. But I have my go-to, which is just like a berry blend that's frozen. And the reason why I like using, let's say, this frozen fruit versus, let's say, this fresh fruit is because when it's frozen, I don't have to add ice. When it's frozen, I don't have to add ice. When it's this, I do, right? To get that nice texture. And frozen never goes bad. And I have like 2 or 3 of these, and I'm assuming one of those is bad before I eat it. So
there's actually a benefit to using frozen over fresh when you make smoothies, nutritionally. Sure. So everything you said is 100% true, right? Frozen doesn't really go bad. I mean, you can keep fresh or frozen fruit in the freezer for a really long time. It's icy, so you get that nice texture and mouthfeel of a smoothie. But there's a law in the United States that if you are a manufacturer or a producer of frozen fruits or vegetables, they cannot be picked until they are at their peak ripeness on the vine. Whereas if you're eating a fresh fruit or vegetable, oftentimes they are picked early, so they're picked before they're ripened, and they ripen either in a building, like in a warehouse with ethylene gas added to it, or it ripens as it travels from wherever the farm was to wherever the grocery store is. So there's actually a higher nutrition quality to frozen fruits and vegetables than there is fresh.
So is there certain things that you should look for? Well, I have a couple questions about that, and I've heard some of that before. And so now that you say it, kind of confirms that it must be true.
It's totally true.
So my question is, like when you go to buy frozen fruit, is there certain things that like you have to look for, like in terms like the ingredients? Is there ever like should they have like frozen fruit that's like added sugar in it? Like is that a thing?
Yeah, it's totally a thing. So, in this country and in other countries, the idea is to get consumers to eat and want to repurchase your product, right? So a lot of times, especially with frozen fruit, they'll add juice to it. So I'd actually be curious because that's a Welch's brand frozen fruit blend that you have there, if that has added juice to it. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll roll they'll dip all the fruit in the juice and then they'll flash freeze it. So it's actually coated in fruit juice, which is technically an added sugar, right? Fruit juice is one of the things that I would avoid in making a smoothie or in when you're looking at the ingredients of a smoothie. If it has added juice to it, like fruit juice, I would avoid it because you're not going to get the same nutritional benefits you would get if it was just fruit.
And is there certain fruits that like you gear more towards when you're doing when you're shopping the supermarket? Do you go for like the berry one or like the other? I don't know sometimes it's just strawberry, sometimes they have like mixed berries like this one. What do you usually go for?
I think if you're going for just fruit, any fruit is fine. I definitely do not subscribe to the idea that fruit contains too much sugar naturally. Therefore, you should watch out for it unless you have a medical condition that requires you to watch out for it, like diabetes or high triglycerides, right? That's a different story. But if you're generally healthy, fruit is fine, and any fruit is fine as long as it doesn't have fruit juice added to it. So one of my favorite examples, it's not a frozen fruit, it's actually a dehydrated fruit, which is cranberries, which are craisins. Craisins are delicious, but if you've ever had a real cranberry, it's very tart and it's very sour. And somehow craisins are super sweet. It's because they're injected with juice before they dehydrate it. So they actually contain a whole bunch of added sugar. So that's the kind of thing you want to look for. So any fruit is fine. When I think about making smoothies, generally speaking, I have a ratio of 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. So I'll do 2 fruits and 1 vegetable, or 3 fruits and 1 vegetable in any smoothie that I make. It is not negotiable for me not to have a vegetable in my smoothies, just because they provide an extra, twist on the nutrition profile, but also a lot of fiber. That's really, really one of the benefits of taking a smoothie. So any fruit would be fine as long as it's a fruit that you can eat safely. So like, obviously I wouldn't put a banana peel in a smoothie or a watermelon rind in a smoothie. They're technically edible, but I wouldn't actually do that. But you could do like berries and banana, or you could just do strawberry, and you could do oranges, or any kind of berries. Watermelon is amazing in smoothies this time of year. Pineapple. I mean, you can really go on and on with the fruits.
And is there certain veggies that you recommend or you like in your smoothies, or like maybe veggies that are like kid friendly where the kids won't even, specifically for kids, won't even like realize it's in there, kind of sneak in there?
So as an adult who makes smoothies who are like every shade of brown, I always put green vegetables in mine. So I am a big fan of either baby spinach or kale, and those are like the obvious choices, right? But I think if you have a slightly picky eater, right? So my son, extremely picky. If I give him a smoothie that's green or brown, he won't go anywhere near it, like not with a 10-foot pole. Okay. So I'll try to pick a vegetable that's a similar color to what I'm aiming for. So let's say if I want his smoothie to turn out red, I would do strawberries, pineapples, and then maybe like butternut squash. That's still a little bit sweet. Or I would do even like chopped up sweet potato, not too much because it can make it really thick, but those are certainly great options. They add an amazing mouthfeel. They add a little bit of sweetness because they're naturally a little bit sweet, and they're in the same color profile.
Wow, I never thought about adding those ingredients. That's really cool. So what are some traps that people fall into when they think a smoothie is healthy, or they think, like, oh, I got this from Smoothie King, it's got to be good.
Oh, that's like my pet peeve restaurant. Smoothie King is not healthy. They use syrups in their smoothies. They use very little fresh fruit, if they use any in whatever mixtures you're getting. It's a lot of junk. So definitely stay away from anything that uses a base that's not fresh fruit. So for example, you can go to Starbucks and you can get a smoothie at Starbucks. A lot of times they will add syrup to it though. They'll add like their flavoring syrups, or they'll add a fruit syrup. But you can, at a place like that, you can say no syrups. I just want strawberries and bananas and whatever your like liquid base is. So coconut water or coconut milk or almond milk or whatever your base is. One of the things I would certainly avoid is getting smoothies at places like Smoothie King, Wawa, Panera. Those kinds of places often use a pre-made smoothie base that's really, really high in added sugar from juice or syrup. So it's not really what you think you're getting. Another trap is using just juice as a base at home. I think a lot of parents do that because juice is something a lot of families drink on a regular basis, but it really has no nutrition value at all. So juice companies have spent a lot of money over the years making families feel like drinking a glass of orange juice is the same thing as eating an orange, and it's not, because you're not getting the fiber. You're missing a whole bunch of the added, benefits of taking in a real fruit versus a liquid version of it. So I would not use juice as a base. And then the other thing I would think of is if you're not adding a vegetable to your smoothie, I think that that's kind of a trap, because you're missing an opportunity to squeeze something in that maybe your child or your spouse wouldn't normally eat or drink. I mean, my husband has definitely drank smoothies with me and not known that there's stuff in there that he would normally not eat. So it works for husbands too.
Okay, cool. So is there anything you can get at Smoothie King? Like, let's say you're just in a bind, like it's like can convenient option.
So I haven't been there in a really long time. I have like a personal boycott against them. However, if you go, just be straight up with them. And when you go into the drive-thru or into the store, I don't want any syrup. I don't want any junk. So do you have any fruit, like real fruit in the store? I think that they probably would have at least strawberries and bananas, and maybe some frozen veg if you can. If you get, if you have it. I honestly don't know. I can post in the comments below. I'll go stalk on their website and I'll give you a recommendation if you want one.
That's going to be great when you're getting a Smoothie King ad for the next 6 months, because I mean,
oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Right.
So, in terms of, you talked about frozen fruit before. Is frozen veggies okay too? Like, instead of, let's say, buying fresh spinach, which fresh spinach I feel like goes bad. Like, I went to my fridge to take out, like, there's definitely some green leafy veggies. I found these and I'm like, oh, these are great. Then I looked at them and they're like 3 days, I would say, past due. So
Yep.
Can I use frozen spinach too for my smoothie? Does it make any difference?
Yeah, you can. You just want to be careful about the volume. So like if you were to use fresh spinach or fresh kale, you can grab a handful or you can shove it into a cup and measure it that way. If you're using something that's like frozen, usually it's wet before they freeze it, so it's really, really compact. So if you use the cup, you'd get a lot more spinach if it was frozen versus fresh. So you just want to watch your measurements. So I would do like maybe a quarter cup instead of a full cup if that was the case. One thing I do when my veggies look like yours, because I feel like sometimes I buy spinach and then I forget about it for 3 minutes and it's bad. Yeah. Is I will freeze it when it looks like it's about to go. So if I think like I'm not going to eat a salad or make a smoothie, I'll throw it in a container and shove it in my freezer for that purpose so that I can use it for a smoothie.
I never even considered that. That's just genius. Yeah. I do like it. I don't freeze it, but I do like putting avocados and they're like perfect ripeness in the fridge. That's like my favorite. Those
yeah, and you can put avocados in smoothies too. They add amazing mouthfeel.
It's like a thickener? Is that what it does?
Yeah, it would make it a little bit thicker. You get a bunch of really healthy fats. It's technically a fruit, but I would use it as the veggie option because it's so green and so like potent. And you can actually, if you feel like your avocado is about to go, chop it up into cubes and then freeze it. Avocado freezes beautifully too.
Okay, cool. Oh, it freezes. Okay. I know there's avocado ice cream. I think some like celebrity makes an avocado. I never had it, but like I wanted to try it.
It's okay. It's not great. Okay. It's not like real ice cream.
It's not like Ben and Jerry's. Oh man.
Oh no.
So let's say for instance, I know a lot of people have this challenge. Like let's say someone is trying to lose weight. Like that's their goal, right? And they have smoothies. Like, what are some things that people put in there that can sabotage them from eating too many calories without even realizing it?
So I think one of the things that, because people assume when they're making a smoothie, if you're adding a lot of fruits and vegetables, that it's fine. But there are certain things you can also add that will add calories really fast. One of my favorite foods in the entire world is peanut butter, but peanut butter is extremely high in calories. Nut butter in general is high in calories. So I would limit it to like a tablespoon of peanut butter if you can. I wouldn't use, I wouldn't make like a chocolate peanut butter smoothie and use like Hershey syrup and then maybe throw in a banana and think that you're good. That's a lot of added sugar. One of the things that you can put in smoothies that would actually give the opposite effect would be oats. So like old-fashioned oats, like oatmeal, uncooked oatmeal. The fiber in it will actually absorb any of the added fats as your body digests it. So it'll actually kind of like clean the pipes as it's digesting. So oatmeal is like one of these foods to me that's like it's like a hidden hero. A lot of people don't realize how actually beneficial it really can be for the diet, particularly if you're trying to lose weight and if you have a high cholesterol issue, like if you have or triglycerides, because it kind of just like scrubs out your GI tract and your blood as it's digesting. So it really does a nice job. The other thing that I would add, but in moderation, so maybe not more than a teaspoon to a tablespoon, would be something like flaxseed or chia seed. Some of these more popular seeds that are, become a lot more popular in the last couple of years because the calories will add up. So you'll have a smoothie that maybe starts off at 200 calories, which is fine. But if you add peanut butter and flaxseed and chia seed, then you end up with a 600 calorie smoothie, and that kind of defeats the purpose of it being a weight loss smoothie.
Right. Unless it's like a meal replacement or something. Right.
Right,
Right.
right. Yes, you
So
can
what?
have that smoothie and then have breakfast.
Right. Okay. Or like as your drink during breakfast, which a lot of people
Right,
do.
right, right.
Um, okay, cool. And then what about, so you mentioned before like certain vegetables and you try to match like certain colors, so kids, appetizing to kids. So
Yes.
like we have so you mentioned like sweet potatoes, right? Avocado. So is there certain like vegetables that you stay away from that you know will turn it brown?
I mean, I think it just depends if you can like recognize the color wheel. That's kind of how I figure it out. So I know that if I put spinach in with strawberries, it's going to turn brown, because red and green will make brown.
Okay.
That's sort of how I figure it out. So, if you add banana to something, it's not going to really change the color. It's pretty bland. But if you did like strawberry, watermelon, and kale, that would probably turn brown or gray, which is not very
Mm,
pretty. But if you did strawberry, watermelon, and beets, it would turn bright red, and it would be really, really pretty. Which I
mm.
think a kid would be more likely to try it.
Okay, that's a good idea. Beets. So do you use like canned beets or like fresh beets?
I use frozen beets.
They sell
I
frozen
pretty
beets.
much
I
when I
haven't
make
even seen it.
yeah, and they're cubed already, which is nice. They're like really
Mm,
little and they're cubed, and they're super easy to work with. I have a thing about beets. I don't like to cut them because they stain everything, so I
mm,
like to buy them pre-cut so that I'm not dealing with the stains on my kitchen stuff.
mm.
It's one of those things I
Yeah,
have.
I prefer all my white shirts to have like a splash purple stain on them. So for me, it's great. Um,
Get
I
yourself some
actually
beets
make
then.
I make this beet salad with tahina it's a love. It's like tahina, lemon juice, shredded beets, and it's like every time I make it, my hands and fingertips are purple for like 2 days.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds really good though.
it's amazing. It's like a Michael Salmanoff. I don't know if you know, he's like a restaurateur in Philly. His like recipe, restaurant owner of Zahab, and it's unbelievably good.
Oh, my
Yeah, pretty
favorite
simple.
restaurant of all time.
Yeah, so it's just, if you remind
Yeah.
me later, I'll send you I have the picture of his. My brother has his cookbook, and I took a picture of that
Okay.
page, and like that's what I use. It's really simple. It's like 6 steps. Um, so okay, cool. And then in terms of nut butter, there can be any nut butter. Like let's say you want to add some fat. Like let's say your kid's not eating as much, and like okay, you need some calories, or she needs some calories.
Yeah.
Can it be like, does it make a difference whether it's almond butter or like I have this one. This is the one I like. It's like a peanut butter chia flax seed from Trader Joe's,
Yeah. Trader
and
Joe's.
it's like no added. The ingredients are the ingredients are over here. Like there's nothing added.
Yeah. So any nut butter would be fine, but I would definitely do what you just did, which is read the label. Because if you look at the label of, let's say, Jif, which is extremely popular, the ingredient list is like that long. And half of the ingredients most people can't even pronounce because they're so chemically additive, preservative sounding. Versus, most of the time peanut butter should just say peanuts and maybe salt, which would be
Right.
okay.
Right.
If you like it a little more savory, or it would say almonds and salt, or just almonds, or whatever the case is. If they have a blender like yours, your blender is, I think it's a Ninja, right?
Oh, well, I mean, Karate Guys, I had to get the Ninja, obviously.
Yeah.
It was like, there's all these choices. I'm like, going for the Ninja one.
You can actually make your own peanut butter. I make my own peanut butter all the time. I make my own nut butter all the time.
Really?
Yeah,
You
it's
just
strong enough.
dump
So
a
it has
bunch
to
of.
be a super strong blender. You can't do it in a regular blender, and you can't really do it in like a magic bullet. They're not strong enough. You'll burn the motor. But I have a Vitamix, and I make like pecan nut butter, which is just outrageous. So good. With a little bit of cinnamon. Oh, it's unbelievable. I made my own peanut butter. I make my own cashew butter. I use cashews as a base for like a lot of vegan recipes. So I just like because they're kind of creamy and they're like buttery. But you can use any nut butter as long as it's a simplified, even if it's a pre-made one, as long as it's simplified, it only has ingredients that you understand, right? Like you just said, peanuts, chia, and flax. That's it.
Okay, cool. I didn't know. I guess a Vitamix that's like the Rolls Royce of like blenders, right? That's a super nice one.
Yeah, well, I am a dietitian. I had to get the best one I could get.
Yeah, I had a really nice juicer. I had like, I think the brand was Omega. It was like $500 for this juicer. And so I was like, oh, this juicer would be awesome. And I loved it and it worked really well, but cleaning it was too much. It would take me 20 minutes to clean it every time. And it was like, I had to take a toothbrush. I was like, I brushed this thing more than I brushed my own teeth. And I just like, it was getting to be too much. So yeah, I gave it away. I would have given it, so here, you can have it. Okay, cool. And then there was another question I had about, ginger. So I recently heard someone told me like, I put ginger in my smoothies all the time. Is that something you've done? Would you recommend that?
So I would recommend using ginger. I personally can't use ginger because my husband is like terribly allergic to it, so I can't even keep it in the house.
Oh.
However, I think ginger is an amazing ingredient for especially smoothies because it adds a little bit of tanginess, a little bit of sweetness, and ginger is wonderfully anti-inflammatory. That's a real thing about it. It's so good for your gut. If you're somebody who has like stomach upset a lot of times, like drinking ginger tea is highly recommended. So if you can put a little like a little nub of it from a ginger root, like a fresh ginger root, you don't need a lot because a little bit goes a long way. It would really like balance up a smoothie really nicely. Like I think a smoothie with maybe like banana, peanut butter or almond butter, pineapple, and then like a little piece of ginger would probably be like amazing, and maybe like a hit of cinnamon.
So okay, cool. And then I know you had some like recipes you wanted to share. If there was something that you just want to like post in the comments, maybe like that way people don't have to like try to find it on here, but like tell me later.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. So basically what I did is I went through Pinterest. I'm a dietitian. I could give you 100 recipes for smoothies, but I just kind of like the way they're presented on Pinterest, like in a picture and you have all the ingredients.
Yeah.
But one thing, if you're making recipes, I mean, I've seen so many of the parents already from Action posting in the group, which I love. Make sure that you're trying to do at least that one veg in the recipe. Now that might not work if you have a picky eater and they don't want to eat it. So you might have to kind of stick it in there on the sly. Like my son will not eat it if he sees me putting spinach in it. Like he won't do it. The other thing that I wanted to say is try making a smoothie bowl. So I posted a picture of a smoothie bowl that I made over the weekend, and it legitimately looks like cookies and cream ice cream. And it's so good. Not, there's no ice cream. There's no dairy in it. Actually, it's vegan. But it's outrageous. So that could be something that maybe a picky eater could also try. You could put like some berries and seeds on the top, really kind of dress it up and make it look pretty. That might be something that like, somebody who won't drink maybe a green drink or a red drink would try.
Yeah, I saw that and it blew my mind. I was like, I think she's just eating a bowl of cookie dough. Like, yeah, it's a smoothie. Like,
it was so good. It was just like nut butter and almond milk and bananas. Like there wasn't much to it, but it was so. Also, I'll post that recipe too. It's so good.
Yeah, you gotta post that one. That one sounds awesome. And then I'm gonna actually be with some extended, my nephew, like little nephew, like this weekend and stuff like that. So I feel like with him, we can make some smoothies together. So that'd be nice. And then with so I feel like I know the answer to this question, I think. But just for people who are watching, do they need to add like a liquid to their smoothies, like water or milk, or can you just throw the fruit and veggies in there?
So I think it depends. It kind of depends on what kind of blender you have. Like my blender, I wouldn't necessarily need to because that thing could like blend an iPad. But if you have just a regular sort of standard like $50 blender, that's a normal blender that a normal person would have, I would say add some liquid and always put the liquid in first. So you want to put your water or coconut water or almond milk or whatever you're using in first, and then you add in the dry ingredients. So that way you don't burn the motor out.
And then what about some items I've had in the past that like I've had a smoothie and like all the seeds will go to the bottom? But I guess that's not an issue for Vitamix. Vitamix, I think, blends all the seeds, right? But if you have just a ninja like normal people, then you get the seeds at the bottom. Is there a way to avoid that, or just like get certain fruits to use?
What you can do is you can put the liquid in and the seeds in first and blend them before you put anything else in, and then put the fruit and vegetable in. And then you might be able to like smooth it out first before you drink it.
I never thought of that. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else
Sure.
that you want to tell the people for whether it's action people or maybe anyone else who's just watching us, like, hey, like I can have some more smoothies, a way to sneak in some fruit and vegetables in my life I don't normally do, especially when it's sunny out. Nice.
Yeah, I know. I think smoothies are great, especially this time of year. Just like, have fun with it. If it's something that your kids you think will try, have them try to make it. I mean, that's one of the biggest takeaways with getting kids who are picky to eat anything is to have them make it with you or prepare it with you. So have them throw it in the blender. If you have like one of those like push things that like those sticks that go in the blender, they can like kind of beat it up a little bit. If your child is really being resistant to trying anything, pour the smoothie into a popsicle mold and freeze it and have them eat it like a popsicle. Smoothies are just a really easy, great opportunity to get super high nutrition value and also a lot of fiber, especially if you compare it to taking juice. So a smoothie popsicle is 100% better than a popsicle.
Right.
So definitely give it a try. I'll post some recipes, and if there's anybody that has a specific question, like, I really want my child to eat X vegetable or X fruit, I'll see if I can come up with a recipe for you to try. I'm happy to do that. So just put it in the comments.
Cool. You're awesome. Thank you so much for being here and thanks for being a part of this as always. If you're watching this and you want to join our smoothie challenge, you're more than welcome to. You can be an Action Cry student, of course, because then you'll get a smoothie patch for your uniform once you complete it. But even if you're not and you want to do this with us, just post a picture every time you make a smoothie. And I'll be doing that the rest of this week, probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something like that. And then I'm really excited I want to try that cookie dough one, so post that here too.
I'll put it up as soon as we're done.
You're awesome. Thank you so much, Angel. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk later. See ya.
Okay, thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.